Mom can't pay. Mia Dawson said it before Claire could stop her, standing beside the disabled sedan in a bright yellow raincoat that still held beads of cold rain. Ethan Cole looked from the 8-year-old girl to her mother, then back to the car sitting half inside the first service bay of his shop. Claire's face tightened. Mia. But you said, I know what I said. Ethan raised one grease-stained hand. It's okay. Claire looked at him. No, it isn't. I only asked you to tell me what's wrong with it. I can't afford a repair today. Ethan crouched beside the front wheel, loosened the lugs, lifted the sedan, and checked the assembly with quick, practiced movements. His expression changed. He reached to the nearby parts shelf and pulled down a sealed box, then hesitated. A yellow work tag taped to it showed it had been set aside for a paying job due that afternoon. His phone buzzed on the bench at the same moment. A reminder flashed for that repair, followed by a message from Noah, still for today? Ethan looked at the message, then at the damaged component under Claire's car. He turned the phone face down and opened the box. Claire noticed. What are you doing? Fixing the part that can't wait. That box was for somebody else. The part was. Then use it for them. Ethan shook his head. You've been driving this? Claire folded her arms. It started pulling yesterday. This isn't just pulling. This is unsafe. How unsafe? Ethan pointed into the wheel assembly. Unsafe enough that I'm not putting it back on the road like this. Claire took one step closer. You can't keep my car because I don't have money. I'm not keeping it. Then tell me what's wrong, and I'll take it home. Not like this. Mia looked between them. Mom, is it the thing from the hill? Claire's shoulders went rigid. Ethan looked at the girl. What thing from the hill? Claire answered first. It lost power for a few seconds. Mia corrected her quietly. And made that bad sound. Claire closed her eyes for half a second. 3 nights ago. It restarted. Ethan looked back at the damaged assembly. And you kept driving it? I had to get her home. The words came out sharper than Claire intended. Ethan didn't answer right away. He fitted the new part into his hand, weighing it as if the choice had suddenly become heavier. Then this isn't optional. It is if I can't pay. Payment and safety aren't the same problem. They are when parts cost money. Parts do cost money. And labor. Yes. And you have another customer waiting for that part. Ethan looked at the empty shelf. I know. Then stop. He set the box on the bench. No. Claire stared at him. You don't get to decide I owe you money. I didn't say you owed me anything. You're installing something I told you I can't pay for. I'm installing the minimum thing that keeps this car from leaving here unsafe. Mia twisted the sleeve of her raincoat. So it won't stop on the hill again? Ethan crouched enough to bring himself closer to her eye level. This should fix the part that's making it unsafe. But if the car ever feels wrong again, you tell your mom right away. Cars can have more than one problem. Mia nodded solemnly. I always tell her. Claire let out a tired breath. She does. Ethan's phone buzzed again. He picked it up this time. Noah's name filled the screen. Hey, buddy. Are we still going after school? Ethan looked at Claire's sedan, then at the open work order for the afternoon job, whose part he had just taken. Yeah. Actually, the single word made Ethan pause. Actually. You said that Tuesday. Ethan rubbed his thumb along the phone case. Claire turned away slightly, giving him privacy without leaving the bay. I know. I'm finishing this. Then I've got one other job. He looked again at the work order. I'll make it. Noah was quiet. Okay. When the call ended, Ethan set the phone down more carefully than before. Claire had heard enough to understand. You should stop. Ethan reached for his red-handled socket wrench. I'm nearly done. That's not what I mean. I know. You have a paying customer and your son waiting for you. And you have an unsafe car. That doesn't make everything else disappear. Ethan tightened the fastener. No, it doesn't. He kept working anyway. 20 minutes later, he lowered the sedan and took it through a controlled test around the lot. The steering held steady. No pull. No vibration. When he brought it back into the bay, Mia's whole posture softened. Claire's did not. Ethan wrote the repair on a grease-stained tag and attached it to the key ring. Safety repair is done. There are a couple of other things that can wait. How much? He gave her the number for the part and minimum labor. Her face fell before she could hide it. I can't do that. You don't have to today. I'm not taking a debt home with me. You're taking a safe car home. That's not the same thing. No, it's not. He held out the tag. We can talk about payment after I recheck the work. Claire did not take it. Why would you do this? Ethan glanced toward the empty slot on the shelf where the other customer's part had been. Because sending you out in that condition would have been wrong. And the other job? Ethan picked up the repair tag again. That's my problem. Claire's expression changed, not softer exactly, but more complicated. The repair had just stopped being free. Someone was already paying for it, and the first person paying was Ethan. The next morning, Claire returned before he opened the second bay. The sedan was running smoothly, but she parked where he could reach the front end without moving anything else. Mia climbed out in the yellow raincoat with her backpack already on. You said you wanted to check it again. Ethan rolled the floor jack into place. I do. 10 minutes if everything stayed where I put it. Claire looked through the bay. One car waited on the lift. Another work order sat on the bench beside an empty parts box. The job from yesterday? Ethan followed her eyes. Still here. Because you used their part. Because I chose to use their part. That's a nicer way to say the same thing. It's a more accurate way. He lifted the sedan and checked the repair point, then moved through the surrounding components in the same order he had the day before. Mia leaned toward her mother. He does everything twice. Ethan heard her. Only the things I don't want falling off. Mia considered that. That seems smart. Claire almost smiled. His phone buzzed. He ignored it until the inspection was complete. When he finally looked, his expression tightened. Claire noticed. You're behind. I'm working. That wasn't my question. Ethan set the phone down. Yes. Then let me take the car and get out of your way. We still need to settle the repair. Her shoulders stiffened. Ethan lowered the sedan and brought the grease-stained tag to the counter. He had written the part, labor, and the non-critical items separately. Claire read every line. You didn't do these. They can wait. For how long? Depends how much you drive. Every weekday. For work? Yes. And Mia? Same building. Ethan looked at her. School cafeteria? Claire nodded. I manage breakfast and lunch service. That answered more than he had known the day before without explaining everything. He tapped the deferred items. Then these can wait if the car keeps behaving normally. Claire studied the tag. I can't pay this all at once. I know. I don't want you crossing anything off. I didn't. No discount. No. No pretending the labor didn't happen. No. That stopped her. Ethan pulled the tag back and added a line beneath the total. You can pay it in pieces. Claire's face closed immediately. No. It's not complicated. It is to me. It doesn't have to be. I said no. Mia went quiet. Ethan set the pen down. Claire reached for the tag. I'll figure out the full amount. And until then, I'll figure it out. That's not a plan. Her eyes sharpened. It's my problem. Ethan nodded once. The balance is your problem. The condition of a car I repaired is mine until I know the work is right. Claire stared at him. It wasn't generosity this time. It wasn't warmth. It was procedure. He turned the tag toward her again. Take the car. Bring it back after a few days of normal driving. I'll recheck the repair. No extra labor charge for that check. Claire opened her mouth. That's standard, he added. She closed it. Mia looked between them. So Mom can say yes to that. Claire gave her a warning look. Ethan hid a smile by reaching for the keys. Claire pulled a small notebook from her bag and copied the repair information line by line, including the deferred items and the order Ethan had ranked them. You keep records like this for every car? When I'm doing my job right. She glanced toward the backed-up bay. And when you're not? Ethan didn't answer. Claire closed the notebook. I'll bring it back for the check. And the payment. I'll pay the whole thing. You don't need to. I know. That was the problem. She drove away owing money she refused to emotionally owe, while Ethan turned back to the paying repair he had pushed behind her. 2 days later, he finally completed that job after another delay waiting for the replacement part. He absorbed the schedule problem himself, working later than planned and missing the easy hour he had promised Noah. He told himself it was temporary. Claire told herself the repair balance would be temporary too. By the following week, both of them had begun arranging their lives around, proving that neither needed anything from the other. Claire brought the sedan back for the standard follow-up during the busiest part of Ethan's morning. He was under a pickup truck when he heard Mia near the office. Mom says we only have 10 minutes. Ethan rolled out from beneath the truck. Claire stood at the counter in her cafeteria uniform, keys in one hand, phone in the other. I need the follow-up you said was standard, then I have to get back. Ethan looked at the pickup above him, then at the sedan outside. The truck's already apart. I can come another day. You drive every weekday. I do. Then I want to check the repair. Claire looked at the lift. And your customer? He's getting the work he paid for. Just later, Ethan wiped his hands on a rag. That part is on me. It was the right boundary in the wrong shape. He was keeping the repair process intact, but he was still absorbing every inconvenience himself. 10 minutes, he said. Ethan drove the sedan into the second bay, checked the fasteners, steering response, and repaired assembly. Nothing had shifted. No new wear. He marked the tag. Done. Claire exhaled. Then her phone chimed. I'm late. You said 10 minutes. I said I had 10 minutes. Ethan checked the clock. That was 9. Claire gave him a look. You're counting. I own a repair shop. Time turns into invoices. So invoice yours. That caught him. Claire took the keys. Thank you for checking it. That's what I said I'd do. I know. She got Mia into the sedan and drove straight back to the elementary school. The car was no longer the problem. The follow-up had simply taken the last margin out of her morning. She reached the cafeteria 17 minutes late. A breakfast line was already backing up when she entered. She tied on her apron, washed her hands, and looked at a delivery sheet beside the counter. The quantities were wrong. 2 milk crates missing, fruit counts short by 30, and those cereal boxes belonged to tomorrow. A coworker looked at her. We already started. I can see that. Claire rerouted what they had, changed the serving order, and corrected the count before the next group entered. Within minutes, the line was moving again. She was good at the work, too good to hide behind excuses. When her manager asked why she was late, Claire didn't mention Ethan. Transportation delay, she said. I'll make up the time. You already stayed late twice this week. I can stay again. That's not what I'm asking. Claire stiffened. I'll handle it. The words came automatically. By the end of the shift, she had solved the shortage and volunteered for another closing task she did not need. At pickup, Mia was waiting with her backpack and yellow raincoat zipped to her chin. You said we'd go home early today. Claire stopped. I know, but you stayed again. I had to finish something. Mia looked down. Are we still making pancakes? Tonight. What time? Claire hesitated. Mia noticed. Across town, Ethan finished the delayed pickup and walked the customer to the counter. You said 9:30, the man said. Ethan checked the clock. 9:46. You're right. I have somewhere to be. I know. The customer was not unreasonable. That made it worse. Ethan didn't offer an excuse. I'll finish the paperwork now. Labor's discounted for the delay. I didn't ask for a discount. I asked for the truck. Ethan nodded. Fair. He completed the paperwork, then looked at the grease-stained repair tag from Claire's sedan still sitting near his invoice pad. Claire had come back exactly when he told her to. He had protected the safety boundary correctly. He had still made someone else wait because he refused to admit his schedule had limits. 3 days later, Claire returned with an envelope in one hand and Mia beside her. Ethan was finishing an invoice when he saw her. I brought part of it. He looked at the envelope. The repair. Yes. You said you were paying the whole thing. I changed my mind. Mia looked up at her mother. Claire caught herself. I changed the plan. Ethan set the invoice pad down. How much? Enough to start. He counted the cash, then looked at her. This is more than I asked you to pay this week. I know. Take some back. No. Ethan sighed. Claire, I stayed late. At work? Yes. How many times? Her expression sharpened. That's not your business. No. But if you're taking extra shifts to pay me faster, I'm making it my business. You don't get to decide what I can handle. And you don't get to turn my repair bill into a punishment. Mia stopped moving. Claire saw it. So did Ethan. He lowered his voice. Not in front of her. Claire took Mia gently by the shoulders. Can you sit by the office for a minute? Mia looked between them. Are you fighting? No, Claire said. Ethan answered at the same time. A little. Mia gave him a look. That's fighting. He almost smiled. Fair. She went to the small office chair and pulled out a worksheet. Claire waited until she was focused, then turned back. You said I could pay in pieces. I did. So I'm paying. You're paying too much. I can decide that. Yes. Ethan paused. But I can also decide what I accept. He took half the cash and pushed the rest back. Claire didn't touch it. I don't want charity. This isn't charity. It looks exactly like charity. It's a payment schedule. You invented it because you feel sorry for me. No. Then why? Before Ethan could answer, the shop door opened. Noah stepped inside with his backpack hanging from one shoulder. He had walked over from school the way he sometimes did when Ethan promised they would leave together. You said you'd be done at 4. Ethan checked the clock. 4:23. I lost track. Noah looked at the open bay. You always lose track. Claire went still. Ethan started to answer, but Noah did not let him. If you're working, just say you're working. I said I'd be done. Yeah. Noah looked at the half-finished job. That's why I'm here. The words landed harder than the complaint. Ethan came around the counter. I'm sorry. Noah shrugged. That doesn't make it 4. Ethan had no argument. Claire looked at the invoice pad, then at the cash, then at Mia. The disagreement had changed. Until that moment, the unpaid repair had been a problem between two adults. One who gave too much and one who refused too much. Now both children were standing inside the cost. Mia came back from the office, worksheet forgotten. Mom. Claire turned. Yeah. Are you staying late again tonight? Claire hesitated. That was enough. Mia's face fell. I thought we were making pancakes. We are. But when? Claire looked at the envelope in her hand. Her extra shifts were not simply responsibility. Someone smaller was paying for them with time. Claire put the envelope back on the counter. Half. Ethan looked at her. What? I'll pay half of this now. That's reasonable. And the rest on a schedule. He nodded. Okay. But I want it written down. Of course. And I don't want favors added later. They won't be. If I say no to something, you stop. Ethan looked at her. That goes both ways. Claire almost objected, then glanced at Noah. What does that mean? It means if I start giving away time I don't actually have, you can tell me to stop pretending it costs nothing. Noah looked at his father. You could just do that yourself. Ethan let out a short breath. Working on it. Claire picked up the returned cash, then pushed the invoice pad toward him. Write the schedule. Ethan did. Not a promise. Not a favor. Terms. Claire read every line before she signed. Ethan signed beneath her. The grease-stained repair tag sat beside the paper. For the first time, neither of them tried to erase the cost. The next week proved that understanding something and changing it were different skills. Ethan's schedule looked better on paper than it did in real life. 3 paying jobs sat in the bays before 9. 2 customers had already called for updates. A stack of invoices waited beside the phone. Ethan moved quickly. Too quickly. He finished a brake job, answered a parts call, rolled a second car onto the lift, and began diagnosing an electrical problem before the first customer had picked up. Noah appeared at the office door just after 4. Ethan was still under the second car. You ready? Ethan slid out and checked the clock. For 12. Give me 20 minutes. Noah didn't move. You said 4. I know. You said we were leaving at 4. I know. Ethan wiped his hands. This customer needs the car tonight. Noah stared at him. You always have a customer who needs something. Ethan stopped. Noah tightened one strap of his backpack. If you're not coming, just say that. I'm coming. When? Ethan looked toward the open hood. He knew the answer. Noah knew it too. That's what I thought. Noah. His son shook his head. Don't promise next time. Then he went outside and sat on the bench near the entrance. Ethan stood with the rag in his hand. He had rebuilt an entire week around being more responsible. He had filled every empty hour. Somehow, he had made the same mistake more efficiently. Across town, Claire was doing something similar. Her manager offered 2 extra closing shifts. Claire knew exactly why she should refuse. Mia had already asked twice whether they were still making pancakes that evening. Claire also knew what the repair balance looked like. I can stay, she said. Her manager looked at her. You're sure? Yes. You've already covered 2 closings. I know. We can move 1. No. I can handle it. The answer came too fast. An hour later, Claire was directing cleanup, checking food counts, correcting tomorrow's prep sheet, and reorganizing a delivery list entered wrong. When a coworker missed a storage count, Claire didn't blame her. She took the clipboard back. I should have checked the sheet before we started. I'll fix it. By the time she finished, the hallway was nearly empty. Mia sat outside the cafeteria with her yellow raincoat folded across her lap. Claire stopped. You were supposed to be with after-school care until 5. I was. Claire checked the time. 5:26. Mia looked down. Are we still making pancakes? Claire's face tightened. We can. When we get home? Yes. You said that last time. Claire had no answer ready. Mia looked up. Do you have to stay because of the car? No. It was technically true. That made it worse. Then why do you keep staying? Claire sat beside her. I'm trying to get everything caught up. Does it ever get caught up? Claire looked at the empty hallway. No. Mia nodded slowly. I don't like waiting here. I know. I mean it. Claire turned toward her. Mia held the yellow raincoat tighter. I don't want to wait here when everyone goes home. Claire swallowed. Okay. There was no easy fix behind the word. At Ethan's shop, the electrical problem took 40 minutes instead of 20. When Ethan finally shut the hood, Noah was still outside. He didn't complain. That silence hurt more. Ethan locked the bay and walked over. I'm sorry. Noah stood. You already said that. I know. They started toward Ethan's truck, but Noah stopped. I don't want you to promise stuff if you're going to choose work anyway. Ethan looked at him. That's fair. No, it isn't. Noah's answer surprised him. His eyes were wet, but his voice stayed steady. It's not fair that I have to be okay with it. Ethan had no defense. Across town, Claire drove Mia home in the repaired sedan. The car ran perfectly. Neither of them said much. The machine Ethan had fixed was no longer the problem. By the end of the week, both adults had proven they could work harder. They had not proven that working harder was saving anything that mattered. Claire came to the shop near closing a few days later carrying the folded payment schedule. Ethan was at the counter with his invoice pad open. She placed the paper beside it. I need to change this. Ethan looked at the numbers. You're not behind. I know. Then what are we changing? Claire tapped the next payment date. I'm not taking the extra closing shifts anymore. He looked up. That'll slow this down. Yes. For how long? I don't know yet. Ethan leaned against the counter. Claire kept one hand on the paper. Mia told me she doesn't want to wait in the empty hallway after school anymore. Ethan didn't offer a solution. Claire noticed. She was right, she said. I kept saying I was doing it for her, but she was the one paying for the schedule. Ethan looked toward the office chair where Noah had waited more than once. Yeah. Claire glanced at him. That happened again. Tuesday. You missed something? Nothing dramatic. What was it? Dinner. Claire waited. Ethan looked down at the invoice pad. I told Noah 4. Then I took another job because I thought I could squeeze it in. And I couldn't. He picked up the red-handled socket wrench lying beside the pad, then set it back down. I keep acting like if I can physically do one more thing, then I should. Claire said nothing. Ethan rubbed his thumb over the edge of the invoice paper. Noah told me not to promise next time. That hurt. Yes. Good. Ethan looked at her. Claire winced. That came out wrong. No, it didn't. She pulled out a chair. Ethan closed the invoice pad. I've been telling myself helping people makes me reliable. Claire looked toward the empty base. And it makes me useful. He paused. Not always reliable. Claire sat down. What are you changing? Ethan turned the invoice pad around. 2 evening appointments had been crossed out. You canceled work? Moved it. Customers agreed. One did. And the other? Didn't. What happened? He took the job somewhere else. Claire looked at him. That cost you money. Yeah. You're okay with that? No. The answer came quickly. I'm doing it anyway. Claire looked at the payment schedule. Then mine changes too. How? No extra closings just to pay this faster. Okay. I'll keep the regular shifts. Okay. And the payment gets smaller. Ethan nodded. Claire narrowed her eyes. Don't say okay because you're trying to make this easy. I'm not. Then calculate it. Ethan pulled the pad toward him. They worked through the numbers. Claire named an amount. Ethan rejected it. Too high. You don't know that. You just said you're dropping shifts. I can cut something else. No. Claire's jaw tightened. That's not your decision. You're right. Ethan drew a line through the number. Pick an amount that doesn't require Mia to pay for it with your time. Claire stared at him, then wrote a smaller figure. That one. Ethan checked it. Fine. Claire held up a finger. And this goes both ways. He waited. If you offer something, I can say no. Yes. If I ask for something specific, you don't turn it into 3 more favors. Ethan almost smiled. Probably fair. It is fair. Okay. And if you don't have time, you say you don't have time. His smile disappeared. That one costs more. I know. Ethan looked at the crossed-out appointments, then nodded. Claire pushed the schedule toward him. Write it down. He did. No free labor he could not afford. No extra shifts she could not sustain. No help that became control. No refusal that became punishment. When Ethan finished, Claire signed beneath the new amount. He signed below her. The grease-stained repair tag sat beside the page. Nothing between them was settled, but for the first time, the rules were. 2 days later, Claire stopped by the shop during a scheduled payment window and saw Ethan trying to answer a customer call while flipping between 3 work orders and a parts note written on the back of an invoice. She waited until he hung up. You schedule all of this yourself? Mostly. From that, it's worked. Claire looked at the crossed-out times, arrows, and handwritten notes. Define worked. Ethan gave her a tired look. You here to pay me or insult my filing system? Payment first. She handed him the agreed amount. Not more. Ethan recorded it. Claire pointed at the work orders. At school I build service around fixed times. Breakfast doesn't move because a delivery is late. We move the work around breakfast. Ethan leaned back. Cars aren't pancakes. That's your defense. It's what I've got. Claire shook her head, but she didn't touch his paperwork. If you ever want help organizing the schedule, ask. Ethan's first instinct was visible in his face. No. Then he glanced at the rules they had written together. Maybe. Claire nodded. Maybe is allowed. She left. 4 days later, the new payment schedule faced its real test. Claire came to the shop on Thursday afternoon with Mia's pickup still more than 2 hours away. I have 90 minutes, she said. Ethan looked up from a stack of work orders. For what? You said you're losing time because jobs are running into each other. I said I overbook. That's the polite version. Ethan frowned. Claire pointed to the invoice pad. You write everything down, but you're scheduling from memory. I know my shop. I know. She pulled out the chair. That's why you keep saying yes before you check the page. Ethan almost told her he didn't need help. He caught himself. What exactly are you offering? Claire looked at the clock. 90 minutes. Scheduling only. No phones after that. No parts. No repair work. You credit whatever you think 90 minutes of office work is worth toward the balance. Ethan studied her. And if I say no, I go home. That answer mattered. He moved the invoice pad toward her. Okay. Claire started with the jobs already promised. Not customer names. The work itself. Estimated labor. Part status. Pickup promises. Follow-up checks. She drew a line through nothing without asking. This one, she said. You promised same-day service, but the part isn't here. I thought it would come this morning. Did it? No. Then why is the customer still expecting today? Ethan looked at the order. Because I haven't called. Claire slid the phone toward him. Ethan gave her a look. You said scheduling only. That's your call. Ethan picked up the phone. The conversation was short. He gave the customer the real completion time instead of saying he would try. When he hung up, he crossed out the old promise. That felt terrible. Claire kept writing. Good systems usually do it first. Is that something they teach in cafeterias? No. It's something you learn when 200 kids expect breakfast at the same time. Ethan looked at her. There was no pity in her face. Only work. For the next hour, she grouped repairs by what was actually ready, separated diagnostic slots from repair slots, and marked follow-up windows so Ethan would stop inserting them randomly into paid jobs. Then she reached an order near the bottom. You didn't take a deposit on this. I know the guy. That wasn't my question. Ethan leaned against the counter. He's good for it. Maybe. Claire tapped the page. But if the part comes out of your pocket first, you're carrying the risk. Ethan stared at the line. That was exactly what he had done with her. Claire saw him understand. I'm not saying never help anyone. I know. I'm saying know what the help costs before you offer it. Ethan took the pen. For the first time, he wrote a deposit requirement on the order. The phone rang. A rush repair. Ethan listened, asked 3 questions, then looked automatically toward the open bay. There was space. Technically, he could take it. He looked at the clock. Noah was expecting him at 5. Claire said nothing. That made the choice his. Ethan looked back at the schedule she had just rebuilt. I can diagnose it tomorrow morning, he said into the phone. I can't promise tonight. He listened. His expression tightened. All right. I understand. He hung up. They went somewhere else. Claire asked. Yeah. That was a good job? Probably. She nodded once. No congratulations. No speech. Just the consequence sitting there between them. Ethan wrote nothing into the empty slot. At 4:25, Claire gathered the papers into one stack. There are still 2 invoices. I see them. I could finish. You said 90 minutes. I know. You've got Mia. Claire looked at the unfinished pages. The old version of her would have stayed. Every extra minute could become credit. Every credit could make the debt disappear faster. She closed the folder. I'm leaving. Ethan nodded. And the credit? We agreed on 90 minutes. Not 2 hours because I was useful? He looked at her. 90. Claire let out a small breath. Good. She reached into her bag and placed the smaller scheduled payment beside the invoice pad. Ethan counted it. Not more. Not less. Exactly what they had written. He recorded the payment and wrote the credit for her administrative time as a separate line. Claire watched him. You didn't reduce the rest. No. Even after today? No. A faint smile touched her mouth. Good. Ethan signed the entry. Claire signed beside it. Then she left on time. The next morning, Ethan used the new schedule. One customer had to accept a later appointment. Another paid a deposit before Ethan ordered the part. A follow-up check stayed inside its assigned window instead of swallowing half an afternoon. The shop did not suddenly become easy. It became measurable. At 4:45, Noah came through the office door. Ethan was halfway through a diagnostic test. 5. Noah asked. Ethan looked at the car, then at the schedule. 5. Actually, Ethan gave him a look. Noah raised both hands. Had to ask. Ethan finished the test, wrote down the result, and stopped. There was still more he could do. He left it for Monday. At 5, he locked the bay. Noah watched him. You're leaving that? Yeah. Won't it still be there? That's the idea. Noah didn't praise him. He just put his backpack over one shoulder and headed for the door. That mattered more. Claire's correction cost her too. Without the extra closing shifts, the repair balance moved slower. She had to look at the number every week instead of making it disappear through exhaustion. At the cafeteria, she stopped volunteering for every gap in the schedule. When her manager asked if she could stay late one afternoon, Claire checked the pickup time before answering. Not today. The kitchen did not collapse. Someone else covered the last task. Claire went home with Mia and made pancakes on the night she said she would. Mia still asked once, "Are we really going home now?" Claire answered, "Yes," and then proved it by picking up her coat. Neither household transformed overnight. Ethan still caught himself glancing toward the phone when it rang after hours. Claire still started sentences with "I can handle," and sometimes stopped before finishing them. But the rules held because both of them kept paying for them. Several weeks after the original repair, Ethan's shop still had more work than space. The difference was that the wall schedule finally told the truth. On a Friday afternoon, he stood at the counter with a customer on the phone and looked at the last open box on the page. "I can get you in Monday morning," he said. A pause. "No, I can't promise tonight." Another pause. "I understand." He hung up, wrote the appointment down, and did not reopen the bay. Noah was sitting on the office stool doing math homework. "You lost another one?" "Maybe." "You mad?" "A little." Noah nodded as if that made more sense than pretending everything was fine. Ethan checked the clock. 10 minutes. Noah looked up. "You mean 10? I mean 10. At 4:55, Ethan washed his hands. At 5, he locked the tool cabinet. Noah noticed. He did not praise him. He simply put his homework away. Claire arrived a few minutes later with Mia. The sedan pulled into the lot without hesitation, quiet and steady. Mia climbed out wearing the yellow raincoat open over her school clothes, even though the sky had cleared. Claire carried an envelope. Ethan saw it and frowned. "You already paid this week." "I know." "Then what's that?" "The last one." He opened the envelope and counted the amount. Exactly what remained. No extra cash. No attempt to finish with a gesture. Ethan opened the invoice pad, entered the payment, and marked the balance 0. Then he took the old grease-stained repair tag from the drawer where he had kept it with the paperwork. Claire watched him write paid beside the total. "You saved that." "Records. That thing barely qualifies as paper anymore. It's still readable. Debatable." Ethan handed her the completed receipt, not the tag. Claire pointed to it. "What happens to that?" "Shop file." "Good." He looked at her. "You thought I was giving it to you? I was worried you were about to make it sentimental." "I repair cars, Claire. You also keep grease-covered souvenirs." Noah snorted from behind the counter. Ethan gave him a look. Mia wandered toward the coat hooks and hung her yellow raincoat beside Noah's jacket. Then she turned to Claire. "Are we staying?" Claire looked at Ethan. That was new too. She did not assume. Ethan did not automatically offer. "I was going to pick up dinner with Noah," he said. "You two want to come?" Claire glanced at Mia. Mia shrugged with exaggerated seriousness. "If there are fries." Claire looked back at Ethan. "For an hour." "An hour works. And we're paying for ours." Ethan opened his mouth. Claire raised one eyebrow. He stopped. "Fine. Good." They made it halfway to the door before Ethan remembered the invoice folder on the counter. Claire noticed him turn. "No. I was just..." "You closed." I know. Then be closed. Ethan looked at the folder, then at Noah waiting by the door. He left it. Outside, Mia and Noah argued about which diner had better milkshakes. Claire walked beside Ethan, not touching him. At the curb, he slowed. There's something else. Claire looked at him. That sounds dangerous. Would you want to do this again next Friday? With the kids? Yes. She studied his face. And if I say no, I'll survive. And if I say maybe, I'll ask again later. Claire smiled. Then yes. They started walking again. After a few steps, Ethan held out his hand. He did not reach for hers. He waited. Claire looked down at it, then placed her hand in his. Behind them, through the shop window, the grease-stained repair tag rested inside the closed file beside a zero balance. By the door, Mia's yellow raincoat hung dry.